In this video, you'll be able to understand addition and subtraction of voltages in a series circuit. The conditions, when can we add, when can we subtract, and as these are voltage quantities, any change in direction, how does the magnitude affect, or any change in magnitude, how does the polarity affect. So I am Mohan BS, working as assistant professor in Department of EEE, SJBIT. So as we are aware, with the characteristics of a series circuit, that the current remains same and voltage divides. So here voltage across each resistance or passive elements divides, thus we can add or subtract depending upon the polarity. But however, in general, the voltages would be additive in nature based on its drops. But let us see with respect to active elements. So when voltage sources are connected in series, or when their drops are in the given direction, should we add or should we subtract in a series circuit? So this is a voltage of 20 volts. Now, so any change in the orientation, the magnitude also changes. So I want you to observe that any change in the orientation or polarity, the magnitude also changes, or vice versa, that if instead of 20 volt, if I want to write or rewrite it as minus 20, A will be negative and B will be positive. So for 20, A is positive and B is negative, and for minus 20, A is negative and B is positive. So as all these are vector quantity, any change in direction or magnitude, the other would affect. So any change in direction, magnitude would change. Any change in magnitude, the direction would change. So let us see how do we add or subtract. In this case, I have a 5 volt and 15 volt. They have connected in series. We have to understand what is its magnitude and the polarity or direction. So if you see from top, what all do I observe? So if you see from top, I have plus followed by minus for 5 volts, plus followed by minus for 15 volt. Repeat. So when I see from top, I have positive for 5 and I have negative for 5 volts. I have again positive for 15 and negative for 15. So the polarity is being actually alternative. If I observe, I repeat, observe from any one side. So if I observe from bottom, I have negative followed by positive, negative followed by positive. Thus the polarities are being opposite or alternative. The polarities are being alternative either from top to down or down to top. Use any one, either that from top to bottom or bottom to top, any one side. Now since they are alternative, I will say simply I have to add them. So either of the direction, up or down, magnitude is 20 because we have to add them. That is 5 plus 15, we get 20. Now what about direction? Now we'll retain the polarity of any one as they are same. So 5 volts at the top we have positive, 15 volts at the top we have positive, right? So as I said, observe any one side. Or 5 volts at the bottom of 5 volts I have negative, 15 volts at the bottom of 15 volts I have negative. Thus I'll say it is upper is positive and bottom is negative, it is 20 volt. So let's take another example here. So I have 20 volt and I have 2 volts. Okay, the polarities are being alternative. I have minus plus and I have minus plus. So since the polarities are being alternative, I have to add them. Now here I have given the polarity. According to this polarity, what is the answer? According to this polarity, it matches with any one, thus it is 22. Now if I change the orientation, so as I change the orientation, as we have discussed or seen in a few seconds back, a few minutes back, any change in the direction, the magnitude also changes, or any change in the magnitude, the direction or polarity also changes. Thus A is negative, it is 22, A is positive, at the resultant it is minus 22. Thus we have seen how do we add and we add. Now let us see when do we subtract. So as you can see, subtraction have two ways. We can subtract either from 20 or either from 2. Again, what are the parameters we must keep in mind? What is the magnitude and what is the polarity? As I see from top, what do I observe? So from top, if I see, I have positive followed by negative, and then for 2 volts I have negative followed by positive. So the polarities are not being alternative. I repeat, I have plus minus for 20 and I have minus plus for 2 volts. As the polarities are not being alternative, we must subtract. And subtraction, there are two ways. So let us see the first case. So now I assume that if I subtract from 20, and as you are aware, we get 18 volt and that is the magnitude. But what about the second case? That is, what about the second point, polarity? Now since I am subtracting from 20, I will retain the polarity of 20. Thus I would say the answer as A is positive and B is negative, it is 18 volt. Second case. Now I want to subtract. Why should I always follow this method? If I subtract from 2 volts. So as I subtract from 2, I get minus 18 as magnitude and I'll retain the polarity of 2 volts. Right? So you can see there, first case 18 volt, A is positive. Second case, it is minus 18 and A is negative, as we have discussed in the initial slide or few minutes back with respect to subtraction. Okay, this is how you have to follow. So 18 volts, A is positive, minus 18, A is negative. Right. So I hope you've understood that when do we add and when do we subtract, and subtraction is either way. So a small exercise just to see that how much you have understood. So you can pause the videos. So here I've given the polarities. Based on this polarity, you have to answer. So please pause the videos and then you can resume to check your answers. So now, so you can see from A to B, I have plus minus for 5 and I have plus minus for 2. Thus, if they are alternative in nature, I have to simply add and say 7 volts. Now, so let me come to the second case. Second case, I have to subtract because from A to B, if I travel, I see minus plus and plus minus. So I must subtract. Now here you have to subtract only in one way because I've already freezed with the polarity. And the polarity matches with 5 or 2. Since the polarity matches with 5, I have to subtract from 5. So 5 minus 2, I'll have it as 3 volts. In second case, I have when I travel from A to B, I have plus minus for 5 and minus plus for 2. Now here again I have to subtract. Again subtract, but you can see here in the result I've given the orientation as with respect to A and B, minus and plus respectively. And that actually matches with 2. So I have to subtract from 2. So 2 minus 5, I get the answer as minus 3. Now the last case, from A to B as I travel, I have minus plus for 5 and minus plus for 2. Thus I must add. Now if you see the polarity, it is off 5 or off to any one. Okay, so thus it is just 7 volts. Now what are these answers? So first case, it is minus 7 followed by minus 3, plus 3 and minus 7. I hope you are clear. As we change the orientation, the magnitude also changes. I hope you have understood in this video when and how do we subtract and add the voltage, and with respect to the polarities, how do you subtract, and when they have not given polarities, you can subtract in either ways. So thanks for watching the video. Please do subscribe to the channel to enhance your knowledge further.